Hi guys, it's Mo, and today we're going to be talking about lessons I learned in my early 20s. So I just turned 26 last week, which feels so surreal. I can't believe I'm officially in my grown and sexy era. I was talking to someone a couple days ago because I gave a keynote speech at the Newark Debate Academy to the middle schoolers. And I was telling them that I started debating when I was in middle school 13 years ago. And I was like, what? Like, how am I old enough to have been doing something 13 years ago? Like, I was just a teenager. Now that I'm 26, I'm officially in my mid to late 20s. I've been doing a lot of reflection about my early 20s, and I just wanted to share some of the most important things that I learned. And I want to hear you guys' thoughts about it. First major lesson of my early 20s was you gotta work hard, but you also have to play hard. It's like so important to cultivate balance in your life. In my early 20s, I graduated from undergrad, I got my master's, I got my first full time salary job, I moved out, got an apartment, but I also had a lot of fun. I also went out a lot. I was out in the city. I traveled a lot. I I did my thing. So I think it's really important to cultivate that sense of balance because the early 20s, they're a foundational time where you can plant a lot of seeds that you're gonna watch grow for the rest of your life. But it's also important to make sure that you're having fun while you do that so that you don't get burned out. I feel like sometimes when people have too much fun and don't put in enough work, they find themselves at a place in like their mid 20s where they gotta like accelerate and kick it up. And sometimes when people work too hard and they don't play enough, they find themselves, in their mid to late 20s and they realize like, oh, they should have focused more on cultivating their friend group or their social life. So I think it's really important to have that balance and to figure out what that balance means for you. The second important lesson that I learned in my early 20s is that you got to stop spinning the block. Like, I don't know, spinning the block is all cute and whatever when you're young and you have time to waste, but there has to be a point when you realize that if this connection didn't work out the 3+ times that I've tried it in the past, it probably means that this person is not for me. Now, I'm not saying you can't spin the block once, okay? If you met somebody and it was just right person, wrong time, and you find yourself reconnecting with the person, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you have reconnected with someone 2, 3, 4+ times. You guys have had different instances of separation and you still keep going back to the person. I personally think it's a waste of time. It's something that I found myself doing in my early 20s that I definitely won't be taking into the late 20s with me. I think spinning the block too much, it really distracts you from finding new meaningful connections. It's a waste of time to me. And I don't know, I feel like you can always be doing something better, whether it's finding somebody else to connect with or just being by yourself in peace because you don't have a stressful romantic scenario in the background. Because I think there was a point in my early 20s where I was convincing myself like, oh, like if me and this person keep going back to each other, then clearly it's meant to be. And it's like, no, maybe you both are just addicted to the negative emotions that you produce when you're with one another. Did you ever think about that? And honestly, like not spinning the block is something that I've definitely resolved to doing based on my personal experience, but I also see how it doesn't work out for other people too. I don't know one successful relationship that has come out of people constantly going back to each other after they've been shown that it doesn't work. If anything, I've only seen really negative scenarios play out where people waste their time. So yeah, I'm not really interested in doing that anymore. Early 20s definitely taught me no more spinning the block, all new connections, and it is what it is. The third lesson that I learned in my early 20s that I will definitely be taking with me into the late 20s is to stack your bread. Stack your bread. Make sure you have a savings account and make sure it's growing. Now, I know that we are in economically tough circumstances. So, a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck and saving money isn't even an option. So, this is not for everybody. But for those of us who do have the ability to put something away, it is really important that you put that away, preferably into a high yield savings account, and you continue to let that grow. Having a savings account is the difference between having to put up with a job you don't like. It's the difference between being able to move out of an apartment you don't like if your landlord is playing with you. It just gives you the ability to move completely differently. Like, you move completely differently when you have a savings account that you can rely on, as opposed to just not having an alternative option if something goes wrong. So like I said, I know not everybody can do that, but if you're someone in your early 20s or even your late 20s, really any stage of life, and you have the ability to put something away, definitely do that, because you never know what could happen, and it just allows you to move a lot more comfortably in life. And when you're putting your money away and you're saving, like, it's really easy to have like FOMO and feel like, oh my gosh, well, everybody else gets to do these things, but you have to understand that, like, you might be missing out on that specific experience, that shopping spree, that trip or whatever, but you're still growing something, which is your savings, it's your security. So you're not missing out, you're just developing something that's different. And like I said in the first lesson, you got to work hard and play hard too. So it's easier to save, in my opinion, when you're budgeting for fun experiences as well. And you're not just like white knuckling the saving experience. Definitely make sure you save your money, and definitely make sure you look into high yield savings accounts. Another lesson from my early 20s that I'll definitely be taking with me is to be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. You get so much more done when you're kind to yourself. I'm the type of person who sometimes I'll be harsh on myself to get a specific goal done, but I always realize in the end that it wasn't necessary. I could have gotten just as much done without any negative self-talk or being hard on myself. What I found was that the harsher I was with myself, the less I got done. And the harsher that I was with myself, the more I would slip into negative habits that put me backwards. When I started practicing, being more kind to myself with my inner voice and just giving myself more grace, I noticed that I got a lot more things done and that things started feeling a little more easeful. So definitely be kind to yourself and watch your inner dialogue and watch how you're talking to yourself. If you wouldn't let someone talk to you or your best friend that way, don't let your inner voice say it to you. Another major lesson I learned in my early 20s was watch what you consume. In terms of media, in terms of food, but for me particularly in terms of food. So like I said, I moved out in my early 20s, and when I moved out, I was eating like someone who just moved out their parents' house. I had like an ice cream cake in the fridge every week. I was eating mad tiramisu. I was just being very indulgent and not really watching my food intake. It kind of worked out for me a little bit because I was finally able to like put on a little weight after college, because it was really hard for me to gain weight in college. But at a certain point, I was like, "All right, sis, this is not sustainable." And then I started paying more attention to what I was eating, and I didn't realize how much I was like overeating or just eating things that weren't even healthy or nutrient dense, and just kind of like filling my day up with that. So I definitely saw a major transformation in my skin, my body, my mental well-being after I started tracking the things that I was eating and actually paying attention to what I was consuming. And I think the early 20s are a time where like a lot of us start to have more resources, and so we get to have more autonomy in like our dining choices. As you get older, you have more decision making power about what you're eating, and sometimes those decisions aren't the best. So I would say it's really important to be mindful of what you're consuming, and also being mindful that your consumption choices are sustainable for you long term. Being in terms of holistic well-being, make sure that your consumption choices are in alignment with the life that you want for yourself. This is Mo, and this was the Mo You Know, and now you know the top 5 lessons of my early 20s. For those of you watching in your early 20s, sign off in the comments. Did you find this helpful? For those of you who are not in your early 20s, let me know. Did I hit the nail on the head? Did I miss anything significant? I would really love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more content. Thank you.